Hello there. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Colleen Klimczak. I'm an organizational and productivity coach and a certified professional organizer. I own Peace of Mind Professional Organizing, LLC. Since 2003, I've been helping my clients live better lives through organizing and organizational and productivity coaching. I support my clients and my community with coaching, in-person and virtual organizing, my weekly podcast called Your Organized Life with Colleen Klimczak, a free weekly virtual productivity session called Finish Line Friday, a free weekly email newsletter, and regular content on Facebook and Instagram. I also offer presentations and professional development to groups and companies. And coming soon, I will be launching that membership circle to support my community with even more coaching and productivity content. Want to finish strong this week? Join me for Finish Line Friday every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central for a 2-hour productivity session. Drop me an email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com to request my Zoom room link or follow the Zoom room link on my Instagram or Facebook pages. Welcome to Your Organized Life, episode 187. Today's working title is Clear is Kind, Setting Communication Boundaries. Last week, we looked at clear and kind communications in our nonverbal communications. And to refresh, clear communication is kind communication. Kind is respectful, even when you don't have easy things to say. Kind is timely. Kind is understanding that different people have different ways and speeds of processing information. Clear is kind. Continuing with that theme this week, let's look at clear and kind communication in terms of our communication policies. In the content I created for the professional development on communications back in May, I asked the participants to consider their communication policies. I asked them, do they have them? And what are they? And are there changes that they would make? Plus, a step we often skip is, how do we communicate our policies with others? So personally, however, we set boundaries, and I'll put that in quotation marks. What are boundaries in practical terms? And this is per therapycentral.com. They are your personal guidelines for how you want to be treated, what you're willing to accept, and what you absolutely won't tolerate. These aren't walls designed to keep people out. They're more like garden fences that create healthy spaces where relationships can flourish. That sounds nice, right? So yeah, therapycentral.com. And maybe you're like me, where your professional policies and your personal boundaries blend all the time. Owning my own company means that personal life and professional life, the boundaries or the policies are a little fuzzy sometimes. So we need to remember that policies in professional communications and boundaries in personal, they're the same. So the working title for this topic, at least in my head, was Boundaries in Our Communications. The idea came to me as I was preparing to go on vacation a few weeks ago, and I was getting ready to be gone for a week, and I was sharing with my clients that I would be unavailable for that time, but that I would follow up when I got home. And that is an example of setting a healthy boundary. Per positive psychology, healthy boundaries require self-awareness, clear communication, and respect. When we think about it, the policies that we set for our professional communications, or perhaps are set for us in the workplace by our companies, are boundaries, right? Depends on what we call them. Those policies provide expectations for us as individuals and how we are expected to communicate with others as a basis of respect and orderly conduct towards the workplace's goals. You and I are individuals, yes, but we do need policies just as any company or employee manual does. I talk often about routines and time management and productivity tools, and policies and boundaries absolutely align with these topics. Good communications save time and hassle when we are clear with what we're saying and can then get back to our important work. Before I dive in, let me start with the end in mind. The recap at the end of this article says, clear communications are kind communications. Workplace communication policies guide our actions and how we communicate with others and how they communicate with us at work. And boundaries are the personal policies we set for just ourselves, our personal guidelines for how we want to be treated and what we will and won't accept. As you're figuring those out for yourself, ask and answer these questions regarding your personal boundaries around your communications. Do you have them? What are they? What changes would you make? And how do you communicate those policies with others? And finally, we're all a work in progress. So that was the recap. Let me get specific. As an example, in my communication presentation, I encourage my participants to determine their professional communication policies. A participant in the presentation talked to me afterward about drafting their workplace communication policies. Those might include they will not contact coworkers regarding work outside of regular office hours, and they expect the same respect. Since their job responsibilities often take them away from their desk much of their workday, their outgoing voicemail message should mention the response time a caller can expect. And that script for this person could look like, I will respond to phone calls within X number of hours on a regular workday or on the next workday. And for immediate response, please, maybe text me or call the main departmental phone number, etc. This person worked in IT. In addition, because the college where they work is closed on Fridays in the summer, they should mention that in their outgoing voicemail message and out of office email messages as well. Any policies they have should be shared everywhere. Voicemail message, signature line in their email message, out of office notification, and this was really important for this person, a quick and clear statement for them to use when they run into somebody in the hallway or need to share those policies in a meeting, etc. The changes this participant will make is in the communication of policies to others. That's where they found they were stumbling. Asking those questions, yes, they have policies, yes, they have them stated, but they had not really communicated their communication policies with others. So similarly, recent conversations with clients yielded these other workplace communication policies. Perhaps we need a hierarchy, written or unwritten, of prioritizing responses to specific people in the organization, meaning the person I was talking to needs to answer an email or phone call from the boss before they answer an email or phone call from a coworker. Another client mentioned that they have a policy at work that they keep the co-working platform like Teams for quick notes and action, and that they send emails for more complex issues, and also keeping Teams and those co-working messages specific to work. So that's work, right? But we are people. So let's talk about what we do as people, as individuals, and what our communication policies would look like as communication boundaries for ourselves. So I won't assume what yours are, but I will share mine as examples. As I set my boundaries, I keep in mind my motivation for this topic, and that is clear communication is kind communication. Right? Boundaries cultivate positive relationships while they protect and honor my peace. And so my question to you is, what would yours be? I have boundaries for texting, and that is my preferred method of communication. I answer texts and emails and calls between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. in general. I do have a sleep focus set on my phone that silences all notifications between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. Except for family, of course, they always win. And this is good news for the people who feel like texting me at like 11 o'clock at night because they don't wake me up. They used to, and now I don't let them. And what would happen is I would spitefully want to answer their 11 p.m. text with one at 5 a.m. when I wake up, but I do not. And I also obviously have a hierarchy for prioritizing responses to specific people too. I can use my Apple Watch to screen calls or texts and wait until a better time to answer them. So those are some of my boundaries. Another one for work specific is I don't initiate text conversations with clients on weekends or outside work hours, and I request the same. I'm really trying to get better about not answering those on the weekends, but I'm a work in progress. I have boundaries around phone calls too. I rarely chat on the phone. I really prefer texting or speaking in person. And I also rarely answer my phone, especially if I don't recognize the phone number. I'm usually in the middle of something, and maybe I'm with a client or presenting, and so I just don't do that. So boundaries are our decisions on our behavior. All of those were examples of that. We can't make others do anything, but as an example, I can model the behavior that I prefer. In my presentations, I encourage people to follow up with me, but via text or email, because I don't answer my phone. I have my policy stated briefly in my email signature and in my outgoing voicemail message, and that is for quickest response, please text me. I initiate correspondence in my chosen method, and again, that's texting. Another boundary is I will not send a text or make a call outside of what is deemed business hours, and I try not to do it on the weekends. In some relationships, like my coaching clients, I ask them for their preferred method of communications, and perhaps someday, someone will actually ask me for the same. And if someone asks me to text them, I will. For example, I received an email and a phone call from a person who was trying to book me for a presentation in February, and in the last line of her email, she said to follow up via text, and so I did. And I explained that to her, and she thanked me for paying attention. That was professional, that was personal, and here's how to actually act on them for yourselves. First of all, you got to answer those 4 questions, right? Do you have policies? What are they? What would you change? And how do you communicate them to others? Other things that we can do is explore our phone settings and maybe set up our own focus times and settings for ourselves. I also recommend to most folks to have template tasks for regular communications, meaning I have a recurring to-do on every Monday's to-do list to check my phone for texts that I may have received over the weekend and ignored because they were business specific. Other things we can do, setting up our voicemail, outgoing messages, and our email signature with policies, work numbers, alternate numbers, etc. And then be clear when we are communicating, right? So if we don't like receiving the, hey, can we talk text, don't ever send it then, correct? We can write a script for those as well. Something like, I need 5 minutes of your time to talk about the dinner this weekend. Can I call you? Right? So being specific. In full transparency, I work every day at consistency with these boundaries. And the irony was not lost on me as I worked on the article, which was on a Sunday originally. I received texts from 3 different clients, and I did answer 2. I know, I bent my own boundary, but I'm working on it. So what have we learned? Clear communication is kind communication. Workplace communication policies guide our actions and how we communicate with others and how they communicate with us. Boundaries are the personal policies that we set for ourselves. They are our personal guidelines and how we want to be treated. And then ask yourself and answer those questions regarding your personal boundaries around your communications. Do you have them? What are they? And how do we communicate them with others? Support around setting ourselves up to succeed in getting things done, however that looks, is what productivity coaching is all about. If it is time to invest in yourself and explore coaching for organizing and productivity, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a line via email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com or message me through my social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you next week.